Young People Have Phlegm 2 is the 16th episode of the 4th season of 2.5 Men. This is directed by Andrew D. Weyman, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And I want to say two things first of all. One is to whinge. Paramount have now removed 2.5 Men as part of Amazon Prime, which is very irritating, so now I have to either watch it on ITV Player or pay to rent or buy the series. Very irritating. The second thing is that the last time I would have watched this episode would have been many, many years ago. And I would have been maybe 20 at a push, so we're talking over a decade ago. So watching this episode now, I know I'm not tremendously old, I'm 32, but certainly much closer to Charlie's age in this than I would have been at the time when I last watched it. It hits a little differently. And I thought as a narrative, it was very well done. It starts off with Charlie asleep at the table. He's obviously been out drinking a lot. Berta is there, then Jake's there, and then Alan comes in, and then we cut to a little while later. Charlie comes into the room and he has a mustache on his face, courtesy of Berta. And he doesn't look great. He doesn't sound great. He hucks up something that sounds absolutely revolting. And he is then in bed with somebody significantly younger than he is, and she suggests going to the club. And Charlie points out that it's 11 o'clock, to which she replies, "We'll get there early." I have to say I'm with Charlie on this one, although I probably would have been back in the day as well. The idea of going out at 11, no thank you. But Charlie likes this woman, so he agrees to go with her, and Alan goes along as well. And they have a bit of difficulty getting into the club. I will say that scene lasted way longer than it needed to be. They kind of milked it for more than it was worth. But in general, the pacing of the episode is not too bad. They then come home immediately after, and Alan is making this high-pitched sound, which is very uncomfortable. All I'll say is I was glad I was not listening while wearing headphones, and they're basically criticising each other for their performances in the club. Alan was dancing in a way that I guess was uncool. Charlie was napping at one point, and Charlie then hucks up something else again, really unpleasant, realistic but unpleasant. And he has chest pain, and the next thing we know, we're in the hospital. And we have some really great moments from Alan. I rather liked this scene. I typically like medical settings in TV shows. And to quote Alan, "That's my brother in there. If he dies, I'm homeless." Which is definitely a very interesting thing for him to say. I can't really say too much more about why that's the case, but certainly I enjoyed that. He pretended to be Matthew Broderick, which was very strange, but I like Matthew Broderick, so I didn't mind it. And it turns out Charlie had indigestion, and it gave him this colossal chest pain, which can happen. And he realises then and admits that actually he needs to slow down. And he's moping around the house, feeling sorry for himself, and Alan realises Charlie can't go on like this. He can't go on being afraid of absolutely everything, because that's exactly what he was doing. So Alan decides to take him to a venue where the clientele are typically older than they are. Also, Charlie is only 40 in this episode, which, again, for me, watching this when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, however old, felt quite distant to me. But yeah, for me, it's the older I get and the closer I get to that age, gets a little scary. And they go to this club, and yeah, the clients there are much older. Well, not necessarily much older, but certainly older. And Charlie ends up talking to a woman played by Morgan Fairchild, which was pretty cool. And things go well for Charlie, and they're going well for Alan as well. He's dancing with somebody who seems to dance in a very similar style to Alan. So I rather liked it. It shows that you can have fun. You just need to kind of switch things up a little bit. You don't need to constantly go to the same club and make yourself unwell, as we had with Charlie. And I think it definitely is a very different episode depending on what age you are. I obviously don't remember exactly how I felt when watching this episode back in the day, but watching it now, there are a lot of elements of relatability here, and I rather enjoyed it. Personal highlights would have to be, I guess, Charlie's whole attitude in general. I like the fact that he kind of highlighted that 11 o'clock was late to be going out. I think we have some, not necessarily growth in terms of his maturity, but growth in terms of the fact that he isn't necessarily automatically behaving like a younger person to keep up. Obviously, he does ultimately do that, but his initial reaction was, that's ridiculous. And I like that. Whereas I feel like maybe Charlie of the earlier seasons, maybe the first season, obviously because he was younger as well, he might have been more willing to go out without even thinking that it was a bizarre thing. Other highlights would be, I guess, the whole hospital scene. I just really liked how that played out. And then the final scene, I thought that was pretty great as well. So in general, Young People Have Phlegm too. Not a bad episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it, which is exactly what I needed after I got very irritated when I found out that Paramount have removed it as part of Paramount on Amazon. I watched it on ITV Player, which means that I have to have the annoying adverts. Do I buy the season or do I put up with the adverts? I don't know. We'll see. But I was very annoyed by that, and this lifted my mood, thankfully. So Young People Have Phlegm too. Not a bad episode at all. Actually, one that I really thoroughly enjoyed.